Next speaker, he has more than 20 years of experience in Agile fields and also ICT issues. He is licensed Management 3.0 trainer, a SAFe program consultant, a member of Scrum Alliance, an Agile Alliance, and a well-known Spanish Agile influencer. Books that he wrote are one of the essential in literatures in Agile communities, such as Agile Management, Kaizen. Welcome, Ángel, with the topic of Agility's final boss, well, is the boss, Ángel Medinilla.
Yay! Hello, Belgrade. It's a blast to be back here in the city. 20 years of experience. She was saying that, and I was thinking to myself, I started coming to conferences as a speaker like 15 years ago. And today I was looking at the audience and I was like, man, people are younger these days in the conferences. And then it hit me. I'm the old one. So, a couple of things before I start. I read recently a study saying that if you speak slowly and you lower your voice, and even if you start speaking like this, like, dragging your words in this way, you look more intelligent, like more knowledgeable in the things you are doing. So I was planning on changing my style for this talk and trying that. And by the way, if you are a podcast listener, I just ruined half of the podcasts for you, because you will realize that many of the interviewers are like, well, how have you been? They are doing this annoying sound all of the time because it makes them feel like they are more intelligent or more profound. I was planning to do that, and then I realized, oh crap, once again, they put me after lunch. Because somehow I became known in the Agile ecosystem, in the conference ecosystem, as the crazy Spaniard, yay, the energetic guy that yells at the audience and makes jokes. So let's put this guy after lunch when everyone is doing their digestion and everyone is like trying to go siesta, amazing Spanish invention. So yeah, so no try today, no way, Jose. So this is a talk, it's the second time I'm doing this talk. Some other talks, some other topics, I have perfected them over the time, and now I can do them like blindly. This one is different. This is an ongoing project. I did it once in Krakow before the summer, and this is the second time. I'm so excited to do it here. I've made some changes. And when I reviewed the first time I did this conference, this talk, I realized that I spent a lot of time in the first part, which was about my story. I don't know why. It's the topic I know the best, my story and my things and my stuff. And then I have not enough time at the end of the talk to go into things that might be useful for you. So this time, I will try to do it differently. Okay, so who knows, besides you two that I already told you, who knows this guy in the screen? Can you raise your hands, fellow tarnished? This is from a video game called Elden Ring, okay? And in this slide, what I'm trying is to picture the boss, this idea of the micromanaging, controlling manager in the most terrifying way. Now we have a new candidate for terrifying boss, okay? So I'm considering changing the slide and putting the, Agility's final boss is, well, this guy, no? And the things he's doing in the last weeks, I think that he embodies all the things that can go wrong in management and that can trump our ability. Oh, Trump, that's another great example, by the way. So all the things that can go in the way of having more agile organizations, I think that he is being a great example of that. The reason of this talk, some months ago, I was training a company in Warsaw, and there were good friends of mine there that had been doing this stuff for also decades. And one of my friends, he used this example for the teams, and he said, suppose that you are a manager and you're trying to encourage people to climb mountains, and you end up with this situation. You have the guy in the right and the guy in the left. And he asked, who would you reward more? Who would you praise more of these two guys? And obviously, everyone in the team says, well, the first guy, the guy in the left, because he climbed higher. And I was like, wow, this is a great example on how to, this was about objectives and key results, if you are familiar with that. And it was a great example of putting like very ambitious goals to encourage people to pursue amazing things. And I was like, wow, that's a great example. I'm going to use it all the time. So I use it like 15 times with different clients. And when I ask the same questions to managers all around the world, well, not all around the world, but in Europe and in America, North and South America, everyone said, of course, the guy in the right, because he met his goal. And I was like, well, this is the reason that we are not getting more agile in our companies, okay? We are still, these managers, they are trading certainty, predictability, and control because it's what they want for amazing results, innovation, exploration, learning, growth, okay? It sounds great in their brochures, like, hey, we want to be innovative and we want to be agile and all that, but at the end of the day, they prefer that people, commit to smaller goals, but be 100% predictable about that. Anyone in that kind of environment? You know what happens when you start rewarding the second guy instead of the first guy? That next year, when I ask the first guy, how much are you going to climb this year? Will he increase his goals or will he decrease his goal? He will decrease his goals. I imagine that also something that might happen, I guess this never happened in any company, okay? But suppose that you set goals that are, not very ambitious, and then it comes October and you're already done it. And then it could happen that people will say, slow down, don't do too much, because if you do too much, then next year they will go and ask for more things. And then people will slow down and refrain of doing things. I'm sure this has never happened in any of your organizations. In the same way that I'm sure that in no organization, people arrived at December and said, oh my God, we haven't spent all the budget. Let's spend it all in whatever. So we get more budget next year. I'm sure that's not happening. Pretty sure, okay? At least not in your companies. So this made me wonder what's happening in the leadership mindset. How can we improve that? How can we change that, okay? So this is the origin and the start of the talk. Another thing I want to express before we go on is that I'm going to use the word epiphany a lot, okay? And I know for a fact that for many people, epiphany has like a religious sense or semantic. Please forget about that and stay with the idea of epiphany as a moment of sudden and great revelation or realization, okay? I'm going to use this word several times during the talk, okay? And if you are annoyed by this word, something you can try is to have, I'm having a shot of vodka every time I say epiphany. How do you like that? Did you brought your own vodka? This is water, of course. No doubts. It has been checked by organization before. Epiphany. So I'm going to use that word a lot, and I hope it doesn't annoy you a lot. So, hello, my name is Ángel Medinilla. I'm not going to stop here for too long. I'm not just a speaker and a trainer, I'm a consultant. I have been supporting companies in their transformation over the past 15 years. Small companies, medium companies, big companies, multinational companies in 3 continents, in many, many different industries like banking industry, banking, finance, insurance, telecommunication, video games, retail, logistics, tourism, medical, pharma, military, aerospace, government, you name it, okay? And in that process, I became an agnostic and a pragmatist in the sense of I'm not going to explain things just because they are in the book. And these are the holy words of Mr. Sutherland and Mr. Schwaber, okay? Fantastic. But I'm going to talk about things that I am using myself in support of these transformations. And I will try to give you examples on how we are using these things in different environments. I'm also a Management 3.0 trainer. Where are the Management 3.0 people? Are you here in the room? They didn't come. They're up there in their booth. Make sure to pay them a visit. I'm one of the 10 most active in the world out of more than 1,000 these days. Anyway, let me tell you very fast about my own path as a boss. And I'm doing air quotes around the boss word, because for boss in this moment, I'm trying to specifically refer to a manager that is very directive, prescriptive, like telling you what to do, how to do it. You get the picture, probably. So my own path is I started my career as an engineer, and I soon became project manager. And I was a die-hard PMI project manager, okay? You know, Gantt charts, work breakdown structure, project management body of knowledge, the whole lot, okay? Like, absolutely. And it worked for me. I mean, I was good at it. I had very, very good results being a PMI project manager. But then one day, something very strange happened to me. I was working for another company. I wasn't still a freelancer or a consultant. And in this company, I managed a project. And then something very, very strange happened to me. I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I managed to deliver a project before the deadline with more features that the customer had asked for in the beginning, under the budget. This was a first, okay? This was a first. When I came back from that delivery, you know, everything was, you know, partying around the company. There was a red carpet. There was confetti coming out of the building. There was a music band. Everyone was clapping. There was a Roman slave with a crown saying, "Remember, you are mortal. Remember, you will die." And I was like, yeah. I was like the hero of the day. And then we put that thing online, and nobody used it ever. But the project was a success because I was a project manager, and my job was to make sure that everything was delivered before the deadline, under the budget, with all the required features. And that's what I did, and I get a raise, and I got a bonus, and I got a deep existential crisis because I was like, what's the point of it all? Why are we doing this thing? So yeah, that was my first epiphany. Oh, epiphany, vodka shot. So this is the first time I'm going to be using this. Yeah, it was epiphany. It was an epiphany in the sense of a sudden realization. I have been perfected my ways around project management for, 10 years before I became a consultant. And then, are we really providing any value if we are doing things that nobody uses ever? If you're curious, this was a knowledge management system. Have you had any of those? So, before that, once I had this epiphany, I realized that maybe it was not everything about the project. Maybe we should focus more on value and how things were helping the customer. And then I discovered Agile project management. We call it like that on those days, Agile project management. These days, you try that in an Agile conference, people will kick you out of a building, okay? You don't understand what you're talking about. Come when you have read a couple of books, okay? Because it's not about project management, but we did, in those days, Agile project management. There were guys like Mike Cohn, okay? You know Mike Cohn, the Agile Estimating and Planning book. That was my Bible. And in the Agile Estimating and Planning book, there's a chapter where Mike Cohn goes crazy and starts doing linear regression of estimates in order to have like average dispersion and things like that. He's like doing like square roots and things like that around estimates. What are you doing, Mike? But at that moment, it was like, wow, amazing. You take your best guess, your worst guess, then you take the difference, you square that, you add up all those numbers, and you get the square root of that, and you get another shitty estimate because it never worked. But at those days, we still saw agility as another way of managing projects, but the germs and the foundations were there. Small cycles, focus on delivering things, and measuring progress not by Gantt charts and percentage of project completed, but by how many things are we able to deliver to the customer. Okay? So when I started doing this is when I started delivering things really fast and adding a lot of things, managing change better. And then I started trying to convince other people around me to do the same. And something very strange happened. I don't know if you've been in this situation. You have something that works perfectly. You try to convince another person to try it, and they are like, nah, that won't work here. And you were like, it's actually working. I'm doing it. They are like, yeah, but probably there's something wrong. And you're like, what do you mean? Come here. I will show you. And everyone was like, no, that's not how you manage projects. That's not how we do things around here. And I'm like, that's why I'm telling you. So we do things differently. So for a long time, I tried to push others in order to try this. At some moment, I ended up in the attribution mistake. The attribution mistake is a psychological effect where you try to put the blame on things happening around you in others, okay? So one day, you look at your left, you look at your right, and you say, I am surrounded by idiots. And it's a marvelous explanation. It's a marvelous explanation because it explains everything. If you are surrounded by idiots, oh, that's the reason we are doing performance reviews and project management and bonuses and incentives and Gantt charts and annual budgets. It's because they are all idiots. And it's very, very seductive to think that. And then I quit that company, and when I went to another company, I worked there for 2 years, and guess what? I ended up surrounded by idiots again. And you're like, that's strange. Another epiphany. Vodka shot. Okay. So, but I kept learning. I kept getting pieces of the puzzle, okay? And another piece of the puzzle was okay, I'm still trying to use agility as a way to manage projects better, but we are still doing things that nobody wants, okay? Let me switch to the next slide because I think it's a better example than all the text. The Kodak Color Gold, 36 shots, 100 ISO, 200 ASA, the best film, picture film in the market for a long time. Look at all the millennials in the room looking at each other saying, what's a picture film? Forgive Grandpa. So, do you remember that tarak, 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 tarak? I know what I'm doing, most of the people don't. So, yeah, this thing had 70 or 80% of the market share at some moment in history. Amazing product. But the thing is that Kodak co-invented digital photography. If you look at the first prototype of a digital camera, it was Kodak. The first megapixel chip, it was produced by Kodak engineers. Engineers, and I'm remembering Joaquin's talk this morning, that were not empowered to push that into the market. The top executives at Kodak, they said, nah, these are gadgets for freaks. We are not about technology and electronics and transistors and all these things. We are a chemical film company. At some moment in 2001, if I don't remember it bad, the same year of the Agile Manifesto, the top executives of Kodak, they issued a press release and they said, we are not playing catch with the Japanese anymore. We are a chemical film company, the Japanese being Nikon and Canon and the companies. And those were famous last words. Famous last words. Few years later, the most important picture company in the world was bankrupt, okay? And they had to essentially disappear. Today, there's still some things branded Kodak around the market. So, what Kodak, the mistake that Kodak made was to get so in love with the product. They were so in love with their Kodak Color Gold product that had brought them so many success in the past that they were not allowed, or they were not ready, or they were not capable to let it go. And then I came to a realization. It's not about projects, and it's not about products. It's about a problem that the customer has. The problem that the customer has is not to imprint some kind of chemical film. The problem that the customer has is to retain memories. We want to retain memories. And then the problem with analogic chemical film was that you took a picture, and then you had to wait 6 months until there was your cousin's wedding or something like that, until you pulled your camera again, and then you finished the film. Because films were expensive. You have to pay money for each of these 36 pictures. And then you have to take the roll back out of the camera. You have to go to a specific place. You have to wait for an hour, if you were lucky, and then they will give you the pictures, and then you will say, oh, it's blurry. And you cannot take that picture again. So chemical film was not a very good way of solving that problem. Digital photography solved that problem way better, because you could take a picture and see immediately if you took a good picture or not, and you could take as many pictures as we wanted. Top executives at Kodak, and once again, this brings me back to Joaquin's talk this morning, they thought they knew what the customer wanted. Okay, they were so convinced about that. That's a great mistake. And they say, customers want to do artistic stuff. No, we don't. We want to take selfies. Okay? This is what we like. And who would have anticipated selfies in the 90s? People are going to take a lot of pictures of themselves by themselves. And when I say a lot, I mean a whole lot. People would have said, you're crazy, okay? But this is about understanding your customer, getting close to your customer, and being able to tell what your customer wants. So, Ángel, what has this to do with managers? Well, I'm talking about engineers that had solutions, customers that had problems, and managers that were so in love with their ideas that pushed their companies out of a cliff. And this is the risk that we are incurring in our companies when nobody is able to question our managers and their decisions, okay? So, another piece of the puzzle, agile teams. Sometimes I started coaching companies into agile ways of doing things, but we still had teams that were not very agile by themselves, even though we were using boards and Post-its and doing dailies and retrospectives and all that. Have you ever been in this situation where you have 6 people, okay? And then you say, hey, let's do a daily meeting with these 5 people in the team. And then the first person in the team stands up, because it's a stand-up meeting, and then she says, well, as you all know, I'm starting to design the layouts for project A. And then I see that the other people are, flipping on the computers, or looking at their phones, or maybe just looking at the ceiling, not paying any attention. And I'm like, that's strange. Then the first person sits down, second person stands up and says, well, as you know, I'm fixing some bugs in our previous project because they complained that it's not really working. And then the first person is already checking their mail. She's just already disconnected. And then the rest of the team is also doing another stuff. And I'm like, that's curious. And then it goes on and on. And then I see that 2 people are standing together, and one of them says, hey, why are we doing this? And then the other one says, it's because we are agile now. And the other one, why on earth are you doing this? Oh, because Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber say so. And I'm like, that's a stupid answer, okay? What for? Scrum is great. I teach a lot of teams how to do Scrum properly. Not much these days because everyone mostly know it. But Scrum is great. And Scrum is a great collection of patterns, of teams that have had this problem many times, and they were able to solve it this way. So daily stand-up, it's a pattern. Hey, we've seen many teams that are disconnected in their common goal, and they are not synchronizing, and the information on the project is getting old, and when somebody needs help, nobody's helping them, and when somebody has a warning, nobody gets that warning. How about we meet 15 minutes every day, and then we fix that? Oh, that's fantastic, and we try that, and it seems to work. But if you have 5 people working on different stuff, this is not even a team. This is 5 people that work for the same guy. That's not an agile team, okay? When we say team in agility, we are referring to teams like football teams, okay? Football, European football, proper football, not the American version with helmets and armors and all that, okay? Barbarians. Any Americans in the room? Am I making any friends? So, sorry. The agile team is a team that has a common goal, and then sometimes happens that they get desynchronized, or the information is not updated, or they are not helping each other. So with those 15 minutes, we ensure that those things doesn't happen. I once had a team that said, I don't understand, why should we be doing daily stand-ups? And I was like, me neither. And they say, what? Yeah, you're sitting together in the same table. You're talking to each other all of the time. And you are laughing all of the time, which is a good sign if you ask me. Then you are updating the information in Jira and in the boards all the time while you are doing things. If somebody needs help, immediately somebody's helping that person. Why are you doing daily meetings? Oh, because Scrum says so. Okay, so what if we stop doing daily meetings? Is the Scrum police going to come and fine us because we are not doing proper Scrum? Scrum is not the goal. Okay, once again, we agilists, we coaches are so in love with our product. Scrum is such a good product that we are forgetting about the problem we're trying to solve for the people. We are very bad sellers of agility to companies. A question I get all the time: how do I convince my manager to try this? How do I convince my boss to do this? Apparently, all the problems in your company are we can trace them back to a person that is never in the room. He never comes to the trainings. He never comes to the conferences. We never have this person here, so we can talk to them and say, what's your problem with this? Okay, it's always somebody that is outside of the room, okay? It's never our fault, of course. But I feel that the problem is that we are very bad at selling agility. Quick poll. if we are talking about a first world country or somewhere like in Spain, okay, what percentage of the population in Spain do you think that are willing and wanting to go on a diet? Give me some numbers. I'm going to play the same thing that the other speakers are playing. I'm going to engage with the audience. No, not again. Yes. 80%, more or less. What percentage of the Spanish population are wanting to go on a diet? 60%, 40%. I know the exact number. I'm sorry? 5%. 0%. 0%. Nobody wants to go on a diet. I live on a diet. It sucks. I don't want to. I don't want to. But then one day you step on your scale and it says, please, 1 by 1. And you're like, damn it. I have to go on a diet again. I don't want to be on a diet. I don't want to go on a diet. What do I want? I want to be healthy. I want to look good. I want to feel good with with myself. I want my clothes to fit, okay? I want to be happier maybe, I don't know. But I don't want to go on a diet. Well, agility is a diet. Agility is hard. Agility is difficult. Agility hurts. Agility is expensive. If somebody thinks that agility is free, I can argue that at some moment. But we try to push agility into the companies instead of connecting with the problems that the companies have and trying to talk about those problems and see how we can fix those problems doing agility. That's what Alan Simmons, which is a certified Scrum trainer, a good friend of mine, Argentinian guy, he calls that organic Scrum. I ask a team, what problem do you have? What's the biggest problem you have? And they say, oh, everyone is asking things at the same time. We have people calling us in the phone. We have people stopping us in the hallways. We have emails, Jira tickets, bosses coming here. Each one has their own boss asking for stuff. And then Alan says, that sounds terrible. Why don't we try something? I'm going to be the person that everyone talks to when they need you to do something, and I will try to collect all that stuff, and then we will decide as a group what we do next, and we will do things one by one. Let's try that 1 month or 2 and see how it goes. And then after 2 months, the team says, oh, this is great. We are not getting bullied by everyone all the time. We now have someone who is proficient in talking the language of the company, and it's helping us to create a common vision of what we should be doing next. And what we have done is to implement the product owner pattern from Scrum and the backlog pattern. But instead of saying, because this is agile and it says it here, I'm listening to the team and I'm trying to connect with the problems and I'm trying to provide with them solutions. Well, this has a lot to do with the kind of manager that we need in agile organizations. Let me go forward. At some moment, okay, agile project management, product management, agile teams, I did a lot of advance on all those fields, but at some moment, we bump into the corporate box, okay? You bump into this limit, which is the organization saying, no, you can't do that. And I need estimates, and I need deadlines, and I need, roadmaps, and I did milestones and all this stuff. And you're like, we are discovering the product as we go. I cannot give you a roadmap and milestones and estimates and costs. Those are things of the past. Going back to Neil's talk this morning, this is something we can do if we are in a complicated environment. If we are building a house, well, we have some capability with some uncertainty to give some estimates. But if you are asked to develop the next metaverse application for your company and somebody asks you how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, how can you answer that question? You don't know. And the problem is that we are not even allowed to say, I don't know, in our companies. Because if you don't say, I don't know, Elon Musk's fire you. Okay, so that's the problem. You cannot say that. You're going to be the next one. Okay. So yes, we have this ceiling in the corporation and these managers. And for many managers, agility is just something that the team does in order to become faster. Okay, it's like I can still be pouring requirements into the team. I'm pouring some coffee on top of that, and then expecting that more software is coming out of the team. They are a black box, and I don't care what they do in here. I think it was also Joachim's talk when he talks about, in the development phase, hey, yay, we are agile here. But then there's like a whole year of early phases and another whole year of, release management systems. For many managers, agility is a method. So please stop talking about agile methods or methodologies, because then people think that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 steps in order to do something, and it's related to the team. And we have to convince managers that they are the ones that have to become agile in order for the organization to become agile. By the way, if you have a team being very, very, very fast, and you ask them to do crap, you get twice as much crap, twice as fast. That's not a good thing. Twice the crap, twice as fast, that's not a good thing. It is a shame, and I'm going to say that with all the names, it is a shame that someone as relevant as Jeff Sutherland wrote a book whose title is Scrum, The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time. It's never been about that, Jeff. I know it's good marketing and it helps you sell a lot of books. It's never been about doing twice the work in half the time. If that's your idea, if this is about productivity, that's industrial idea. That's where the software factory concept comes from. Software factory is something that is, and some people are like, I work in a software factory. Well, that's so, I can discuss the naming of that thing so deeply, but it's beyond the scope of this talk. It's not a factory, okay? Nothing that we have been describing this morning sounds like a software factory, like more features, more faster processing backlogs, okay? So at some moment, and I'm going to accelerate a bit to go into the second half of the talk, at some moment I bumped into Jürgen Zappelo's book. Oh, of course, you're a Management 3.0 trainer. Yeah, but I'm a Management 3.0 trainer because I believe in this. For a small amount of time, I'm going to make a confession here. Hello, my name is Ángel, I'm an alcoholic. And also for some time, I was a safe trainer. Boo! Alcohol, yay, safe, boo! I was a safe trainer for some time until I decided I'm not going to teach this anymore. I see so many things that are wrong. There are great things in the model, by the way, if you want to give it a try. But there are so many things that are wrong, I decided to stop there. But after more than 10 years, I'm still a Management 3.0 trainer. I use it all the time in my projects, in my support of companies. And for me, when I read Jürgen's book, Management 3.0, it made a lot of sense. And for the first time, I had a model on how management should be transformed in order to engage and connect with the whole idea of enterprise agility. And tomorrow, my dear friend, Ángel Díaz-Maroto, is going to be talking about things like enterprise agility and many other people also. The idea that agility is not something that teams do, it's an enterprise skill. Your company, it's either agile or it's not, depending on how fast they deliver value, how fast they adapt to feedback, and how fast they improve continuously, and how good they collaborate in the whole company in order to become a better system, systemic view, okay? It's a corporate skill. It's not something that the team does, okay? So for me, Management 3.0 was another moment of epiphany, okay? Yay, epiphany. I'm going to skip this. Still, after all these years of explaining how people are doing cargo cult, I was having a very interesting conversation with my friend. Where are you? Hey, I signed your book. Where are you? Raise your hand. Hey, I don't know. Anyway, we were having an interesting conversation, and in part of this conversation, we were realizing, oh, there's a lot of people doing agility wrong these days. And I've been around enough time to remember the moment where we're trying to convince everyone about agility and everyone thought we were crazy. And then a group of people, they started trying that. And at some moment, when we started doing conference and all that, there was a small moment where we thought, we made it. They got it. Because at some moment, we started working with a lot of teams that were, having amazing results, and people were getting the ideas behind the manifesto and behind Scrum and behind Kanban. And then what happened? It became mainstream, and everyone started doing it. And of course, when something becomes mainstream, a lot of people are going to do it, how fast? It's like yoga. In the 60s, some people went to India, to the ashrams, and they engaged with yoga, and they say, wow, it's amazing, it's a form of meditation, and it's a form of spiritual transformation. And then they came back to the east, or to the west, sorry, and they started teaching yoga. Some people got it, but then you fast forward 50 years, and what do you have? Acro yoga, sauna yoga. And I think that these people, the original gurus, they will be like, no, that's not yoga. Well, it's better to be a potato couch, a couch potato, sorry. It's better than being a couch potato. So sometimes we have to be forgiving and say, whatever you're doing in your company is very wrong when you compare it to proper real agile. It's probably better than the old ways. So give them some time, and also don't be, don't settle for that. Continue asking for better things. Still, we are seeing a lot of cargo cult around, okay? Don't have enough time to do my cargo cult routine. So where am I right now? This is what I wanted to talk to you about. So as I saw that the management of the companies, how we manage strategy, how we define roles, how we organize structures, how we motivate people, if that's even possible, how we develop our people, how we align them towards the same goals, this was the most important impediment that we had in order to become more agile, also the biggest opportunity. So for a long time, I've been practicing, learning, studying everything that came in my hands that was somehow related on moving this layer of the organization, which is the managers. And after a lot of, learning and after a lot of studying and practicing, I came to a couple of realizations. I like this slide. Gary Hamel from Strategos, he was named the most influential business thinker of 2016. This is 6 years ago by the Wall Street Journal. And here he says, there is no 10-step program for doing this. Getting away from how the organization has been run over 50 years and becoming agile, it's a creative activity. It's like we are creating something new. So if you start by saying, let's implement a practice, you will get to the end of it very quickly, and you will have changed very little in your organization, and then you will find yourself in a dead end. There is no roadmap. Think about therapy. Sometimes I present myself, if I'm in the mood, as an organizational therapist, okay? Your organization has a lot of dysfunctions, a lot of trauma, and I'm here to do therapy around that. So imagine that you're talking to a therapist, and that therapist, explains to you about, okay, well, this is my school of thought, this is the tools I use, this is how I approach the problems, and you say, okay, it seems like a good therapist, I'm going to work with this person. And then the next thing you do, what is? Well, you ask for a Gantt chart, and you ask for a deadline. When I'm going to be happy? By what date? And then you need some milestones around the way, and then you need some estimates on how many sessions are going to be needed, and then you start, negotiating some penalizations in order if things go wrong, and you establish some service level agreements. It doesn't work that way. Okay, if you've ever been in therapy, and if you haven't, you should, because everyone should do therapy. You know that it doesn't work that way. You cannot trace anyone's therapy in a paper and say, this is how it's going to look. We start by having uncomfortable conversations, and then we start pulling those threads. Well, an organizational transformation is the same. The idea that you are going to have step 1, step 2, step 3 is just, in order to placate managers that need this kind of artifacts in order to think that we are not in chaos or that there's some kind of illusion of control. The illusion of control, it's very dangerous. It's like the illusion of safety. If you know that the door of your house it's not closing, you will be careful not to leave any valuables at home. But if you think that the door is closed and it's not, well, then bad things happen. When the same thing happens, this is the illusion of safety, well, the same things happen with the illusion of control. You give people some ideas on this is how this is going to look, like, the safe ecosystem and all that. And then everyone is like, oh, there's a map, there's roles, there's processes, everyone is going to fit somewhere. Well, organizational transformation doesn't look like that. Another slide that I always, thank you. Another slide that I like by Steve Denning, he was also mentioned this morning at some point. He was a vice president in the World Bank, and then he did some transformation in this organization, and he became obsessed and very, a promoter of agility. He wrote some books, and here in the Forbes magazine, he says, the Agile transformation journey was anything but a straight path from A to B. Introducing the practices of Scrum, the sprint planning, the backlogs, the daily stand-ups, retrospectives, were only part of the challenge. More important and difficult was the shift in mindset for all the people involved. And this is the thing. When I was thinking I'm surrounded by idiots, the problem is that I was trying to sell Scrum and Agility. I was trying to sell the diet instead of connecting with people and trying to reach to their inner needs and desires and then start pulling that thread, as I was mentioning with the organic Scrum. What's your biggest problem? How can I help? How can I be of support? Okay? It's a very different approach. My problem was that I didn't understand how human organizations, how human communities behave, and how human communities evolve. Because evolution and change are the true nature of organizations. Sometimes we say, oh, people don't change. People change all the time. You don't have the same mobile phone that you had 5 years ago. As I think it was Niels who was mentioning that this morning. The problem is that if I offer you a worse phone, you're not going to accept that because you don't see the benefits. But if I offer you a new iPhone 14, oh, you're going to run after that. And that's a change. Because you see what you're gaining. Oh, yeah, but you're losing your old phone. Yeah, whatever. I have a good one. I have a better one. You have to offer the organization something they want. You cannot push agility on top of that because you are so sure that it's a better solution. And we are sure it's a better solution. But you can't convince people with data. That doesn't work. I tried that. I'm an engineer. I tried to gather data on how agile methods were better than waterfall and all that. That doesn't work. You know, in most of the countries I know, when you buy a packet of cigarettes, it says, smoking kills. Have you ever seen someone saying, hey, give me a cigarette? No. Holy crap, I didn't know. Nobody told me. Why do we keep putting that? Okay, let's put it there. It doesn't work. We're trying to give information to people so they quit smoking. It's not enough. Also, most of you know that if you were eating 5 to 7 pieces of fruits and vegetables a day, and you were doing between 3 to 4 moderate cardiovascular exercise every week, you will be happier, healthier, you will live more years, you will lose some weight. Are you doing that? No. Why? I don't have the time, which is the lie of our days. I don't have the time. Okay, you have the same time that everyone. It's 24 hours a day. It's what you decide to do with those 24 hours. Okay? So anyway, so many things I want to talk about. Very recommended book, Radical Candor by Kim Scott. She was a manager at Google under Marissa Mayer, working with people like Bill Campbell, has been mentioned also today, working with people like Sergey Brin, had Fred Kaufman as a coach. The book is really, really interesting, and it's more, I read it thinking that it was a book about feedback, but it's way more than that. It talks about managerial processes and ways of approaching management in Google and in many other organizations. Kim Scott defends that in order to be a great manager, let's say an agile manager, one of the things that you should develop is the capability of talking to people and giving feedback to people from a place of radical candor, which is I'm being very open about what you need to change or what you are doing wrong or how can you improve, but I'm giving you that advice or feedback from a place of unconditional positive regard. I love you so much, and I know that if you change this, you will have better opportunities of receiving a promotion or being valued by your colleagues. And you have to have those two dimensions. I'm giving you very clear feedback, but it comes from a place of unconditional positive regard. And she says that her studies and her evidence shows that this way of managing people is the most successful one. Then there are other three different quadrants, okay? If you have a very good piece of information from someone, but you're like, oh, but I don't want to say that. Oh, Ángel, you put some weight, and you're like, if somebody tells me that, I'm going to feel bad because I'm like, I know, no, but maybe I need some information, that information. I need to know that people are noticing that in order to make a change and say, I'm going to go in a diet. But then somebody says, no, I'm not going to say that because then he's going to hate me. Well, that's ruinous empathy. I care about you, but I don't give you the information you need because I feel that you are not going to love me as much if I give you uncomfortable information that you need, okay? And then there are two other quadrants. I might not give you information and not care about you, which is manipulative insincerity, or I can give you information in a very brutal way without really caring about how you feel, and that's obnoxious aggression. My question is, Kim Scott says the most successful managers are the ones that are operating from a place of radical candor. But there's a second place that gives the best results. Which of the three quadrants do you think gives the best results besides radical candor? Obnoxious aggression. And that's the reason that if you look for psychopaths, sociopaths, people that cannot feel empathy for other people, if you look in a population, usually the percentage is around 1 or 2% of the population, unless you look in a population of managers, where the percentage is close to 14%. Because psychopaths make good managers. Like Elon Musk. Oh my God, I love including Elon Musk in this presentation. So, yes, this is where I'm at. And this is the gold nugget, or there's a lot of work behind this slide, and there's too much information that I cannot convey in 15 minutes or 20 minutes that I have to go. The thing is, we have been focusing the Agile community a lot in the outer rim of this circle. We have been focusing on, things like Scrum and Kanban and objectives and key results, and then techniques for giving feedback and for conflict resolution, methods, tools, roles, processes. Okay, I see a lot of that, no? And then there is a more inner circle, which is the leadership mindset. In Management 3.0, we try to work those, which is your leadership skills, how to deal with change management, the basics of motivation, things like personal development, things like alignment, agility as a concept, as a mindset, not as a set of tools or methods. But even when you go there, it's not enough. I've been teaching and I've been coaching people into Management 3.0, and the problem is that if that person is a psychopath, if that person is a sociopath, it doesn't matter how many times you explain to them how to give feedback using nonviolent communication. They won't be able to use that tool properly. Tools are only as good as the people using those tools. So you have to transform the people. And oh my God, that's difficult. Okay, Sir Terry Pratchett said, planets are easy, people are difficult. And I live by those words. Okay, planets are easy. You can calculate with high precision what a planet is going to do. But people are very, very difficult. So what we are trying now is, how do we transform the core skills that make people great managers? And the list of core skills right now, I'm going to into detail. It's based on research on people like Fred Kaufman, Brené Brown, Daniel Goleman, Marshall Rosenberg, the people behind coactive coaching, Henry and Karen Kimchi House. There's a lot of work that we've been doing, and this work, by the way, I haven't mentioned it. This is part of a work that we have been doing over the past 2 years, because I'm supporting an international retail organization in the financial brand. We have a group of 10,000 managers, 10,000. And our goal is to change the culture and the mindset of those 10,000 managers. It's really frightening when you think about it. So at the beginning, there was a lot of training and a lot of workshops and things like that. But at some moment, we realized it's not enough that we show these people techniques. It's not enough that we explain to these people things like Scrum and Kanban and things like that, which we do, by the way, of course. You need those. But if we don't support these people in their personal journeys of transformation, if we don't give people all the possible environment, all the conditions, so they have an epiphany, vodka shot, it won't be as powerful. We see that when some of these managers have an epiphany and they realize that they have to change the way they connect with the teams, and they become one more of the team, not somebody on top, as Niels was mentioning this morning, but a person saying, hey, you are responsible for managing databases, you are responsible for managing the front end, you are responsible for managing user experience, you are responsible for managing analytics, I'm responsible for managing hiring, firing, and budget. We are all the same. Everyone is managing things in the company. It's not like, I'm the manager, you are workers. I give the orders, you do what I tell you. Okay, the next time somebody hires an data science expert, you tell that person what to do. I'm going to watch. They are more knowledgeable than you. You don't know how to tell that person what to do and how to do it. Those were the old times. That was the factory times, and those are over. So you have a list here. For instance, things that we are trying to teach to managers. Unconditional responsibility. Hey, don't say, sorry I'm late. I was retained in another meeting. Really? Were you? Those people were using like ropes and chains and were grabbing you. No, don't go, don't go. Yes, I have to go to another meeting. That's not what happened. That meeting was running late. You decided to stay. That's your responsibility. So turn everything you say, try to turn it into something that you can trace to your decisions. And there are many things that are not in your power to decide, but you can always decide how do you respond to those things. There's react. Sometimes you react to things, which is unconscious, and then there's response. Response is I decide to respond to this way. Maybe you can't do anything if today is raining, but you can decide if you stay at home or if you use an umbrella. That's your decision, that's your responsibility. And then with the same responsibility comes vulnerability. And vulnerability is so important. It means that people around you are able to say, I don't know. How long is going to take our next metaverse application? I don't know. What's it going to be about? I don't know. How much is going to cost? I don't know. And that's fine. We can say that. I don't know. I need help. That's something you can say in a vulnerable, safe environment. I screwed up. Okay, this morning we were talking about this, I've done this several times. In Colombia, we call that la hora de la embarrada. Embarrada being like the screw-up hour. No? Once every month, the teams will get together, and every team will talk about their biggest screw-up. No? And then everyone will laugh and throw things at them and clap, and it will be like a fun meeting, and everyone's learning. And that increases vulnerability and a safe environment. By the way, all these things are designed in order to support what Google found to be the foundation of great teams. There's something called the Aristotle Project, where Google took a big group of teams and said, in Google, all the teams are great, but some teams are astonishing, off the charts. What's the magic on those teams? So they did a lot of correlation and data analysis, and they found that there was zero correlation on the intelligence of those people, because, the astonishing teams, they were very intelligent, but so were the others. There was zero correlation with experience, because the astonishing teams, they were very experienced, but so were the others. There was zero correlation with knowledge. All these people know a lot about stocks and technology, but so do the others. What are the most important things that we can see correlate with these astonishing teams? And then you have them pretty extensively explained in something called Rework by Google. You can Google that, and it's a blog where they have all the information and all the findings. But the most important finding is that the foundation for astonishing teams is psychological safety, which means I feel secure around my peers. I feel that I'm not going to be ridiculed. I feel that I'm not going to be yelled at. I feel that nobody's going to attack me if I say, I don't know, I need help, I screwed up. Also, it means that I can tell my manager, my boss, I think you're wrong. I disagree with you. And that's perfectly fine. Okay, Kim Scott talks about that in her book. Well, all these core skills that we are mentioning here, and I won't have enough time to go one by one, they are all supporting this idea of amazing, astonishing tools. And none of them have to do anything with moving Post-it notes on the wall, or introducing user stories in Jira, or doing estimates using delegation poker, which is perfectly fine. If it's working for you, if it's solving your problems, keep doing it. Keep in mind that after 15 years of doing this, what I'm digging out is that there's so much below, in the foundations of agility, and it's an amazing journey. It will change yourself, it will change the people around you for the better. And that promise, it's a way more important promise than the promise of before the deadline, under the budget, with all the features, which is like really, really small thing when compared with the things that we are achieving here. Some of the We talked about positive regard, giving feedback from a place of I care about you, instead of a place of I'm tired of you, you piss me off. We're talking about things like being consistent in your conduct, doing the things that you say you're going to do. And that's how you generate trust. And trust is a foundation of psychological safety. So all these things are intimately connected. And then some people say, okay, I buy it, Ángel. I believe you. I believe that you've done all the research. How do we develop these skills in people? Well, that's the difficult part. And that's where we are still struggling, and we are still investigating and trying. I believe that at the core, we need the epiphany. Okay, at the core, there's this ego, this very, very, fundamental part of you that needs to self-actualize and say, look at me, look at you in the mirror and say, is this the kind of person I want to be? And you have to be able to say, no, I want to be better. I want to be more than that. An epiphany, it's needed. No, once again, this word. Oops. So how do we do that? How do we develop core skills? Very fast. I failed, by the way, at doing the first part faster, so I had more time in the second part. I think that the first place where you should start working in order to have this kind of leadership is in your hiring process. Ishikawa said, you can train a turkey to climb a tree, but it's better to hire a squirrel. Okay, so, and then, yeah, okay, fantastic. So review your hiring process and hire for attitude more than from aptitude. Oh, this manager is a great match for our culture, but they don't know SAP. Okay, we will teach them SAP. If you have to decide if you teach people how to use SAP or how to be a decent human being, choose SAP every day of the week, okay? Even if it's very complicated, way easier than developing someone to be a decent human being and trying to, not be a psychopath. Yeah, but what happens if we already have that psychopath on board? What do we do with these people? Well, there's a difficult decision to be made. You have to look at these people in the eye and think, if I were to hire this person today for their job as a manager, would I do it again? And if the answer is no, you have to do something. Either you start working with this person and coaching this person and developing this person, or you have to help this person move to another place where they can be happy. Because if you truly believe that we are going to change the company into a place where people are going to be vulnerable, where people are going to be responsible, and these people are not able to thrive in this environment, these people are going to be miserable. They are always going to feel that they do not belong here, and they're not going to be productive, effective. And from their perspective and point of view, they're not going to be happy. So help these people move on, which is a way of saying kick them out of the building. So the epiphany. Well, there's ways to change people. In Management 3.0, we teach the ADKAR model, but I'm out of time. So sorry. Managing your ego. I have a slide about, this is what I call the cultist slide, when I start to sound like I have been brainwashed or something like that. Things like meditation, okay? Ooh, touchy-feely stuff. Yeah, I felt the same 6 years ago. If people said, in order to be a better agilist, start meditating, I would be like, I don't think you understand what agility is about. These days, I was such a clown. I feared this so much that I made fun of it, and I used sarcasm and irony. And today, I understand that, the more I know about myself, the more I look at myself, the better I can help my colleagues and my companies, the more I can support people. Leadership has a door, and this door opens to the inside. In order to be a better leader, you don't have to change other people and inspire other people and make other people do whatever you want. Using the Jedi mind trick, these are not the androids you are looking for. Go be agile. Okay, this is not what leadership is about. Leadership is, in the foundation, it's about changing yourself into someone people will say, I want to follow that person. It makes me feel better. It helps me. It supports me. I'm going to skip the feedback part, and I'm going to go directly to the conclusions. Conclusion, and I know I'm out of time. From boss to leader, there's a model that talks about 4 stages of competence. You start with unconscious incompetence. You are an incompetent leader, and you don't know. You feel fine. You're like, hey, I'm doing great. I get paid. Then someday you have the epiphany and you realize, I'm a terrible manager. I'm a terrible leader. I'm making people feel bad. I've left so many corpses on my way. I had that moment. I'm so successful as a project manager, a lot of people hate me. Oh, that's because they are envious of me. No, it's because I'm hurting a lot of people in order to deliver my projects. And that day, I felt terrible. And I was like, I don't want to be that person anymore. But I don't know how to change. This is who I am. I am aggressive and sarcastic, and I'm the Kraken. I used to call myself the Kraken. No? The energy, do what I say. No? And it was very powerful, but also it was very hurting. You have to realize, and then you're like, but I don't know how to change. That's magnificent. That's perfect. That's the epiphany. And from there is from when we can start supporting and helping people. In order to achieve that epiphany, give people feedback, okay? I promise this is like the last slide. There's many things you can do in your company in order to start this process. One of the things you can do is develop a vision of management so people can assess themselves against that vision and say, is that me or am the contrary of that? And this is something we started doing in order to, instead of teaching people Kanban and Scrum and things like that, we said, what for? What's the manager that we need in the company now? Okay, this company has been thriving for more than, 100 years, I don't know. And now they need something different. Why? What for? And then we started pulling that thread and create a list of things that we want to see in managers. And then we made you create an assessment saying, how do I feel about, is this who I am? Yeah, absolutely. And then we ask all the people that work with you to give their assessment on how they see you. And oh boy, there were surprises. Because some people were like, yeah, I'm super inspiring. And then people were like, no, you're not. And that's an epiphany, and potentially epiphany moment. Okay, maybe you can say, oh crap, I didn't know. Or you can say, attribution mistake. I'm surrounded by idiots. They don't understand. Well, some people will remain in the attribution mistake. Keep working with them. Keep putting a mirror in front of them, giving them a vision, giving them feedback. That's the most you can do until you realize that these people are not ready to take the leap. And then work with the early adopters. When you find that 20% of the people, 15% of the people that are already making the change, put them as an example. Create a program that will create some proselytism. Like, these are the great managers. Like, put stars on them, like, hey, medals. Recognition, vision, and that will start to create a movement in your companies, okay? So creating a program of feedback, continuous feedback, all around the year, not that 360 that you do once a year. How agile is that? Anything that you're doing once a year in your companies, how agile can that be? We played the game, by the way, great example. We played the warship game. You have no feedback. You can keep going. We're not going to have any results. You need daily feedback in your companies. There's tools to do that these days. I'm not going to prescribe one of them, but you have Office Vibe, Glassdoor, HappyForce, many of them, tools that allow people to give daily feedback to the managers and to the organization about what they're saying. Okay? So you have several advices here, coaching the managers, giving them advice, showing them how they are doing. Continue working with them. The reinforcement is very important. In a yearly event, once a year, we go outside to the mountains. We spend a week in the top of the mountains, eating roots and howling to the moon and dancing and singing to the Pachamama and drinking peyote. Okay, fantastic. It's going to be great. But that lasts for a few days. It's going to dissipate very, very, very early, very fast. You have to keep doing this on a daily basis. You need people in your organization being the support of the leaders in the transformation. There are some books that I recommend that you will have in this slide. I will make the slides available, and I will end up saying that there is no agile transformation without leadership transformation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ángel. Maybe first question from my side. We will have time for one question. One question from my side is, how many epiphanies do you have throughout the day?
How many?
Epiphanies you have throughout the day.
I'm trying to have as many epiphanies as possible, as frequently as possible.
And how many vodka shots does that equal? We have in like Balkan culture, let's call it like a brother of vodka, that's called rakia. So maybe next time we can also introduce you to that drink, so you can have epiphanies also and then drink rakia shots. Okay, one question maybe that we have time from Ivan. You gave us an example when people don't want to try another approach that worked for you. Is your advice the same as 2 years ago? What should we do with them? Should them?
You give us an example when people don't want to try an approach. Okay. Can we switch back to my presentation for a moment? There's a slide I decided to cut because, I'm sorry, poor time management, second time doing this talk, I will improve. Hey, I screwed up. Clap me. Hey, I screwed up. Up there, you have Rogers' model. Rogers wrote a book, a paper, on the diffusion of innovations, and that paper inspired a book by Geoffrey A. Moore, which is called Crossing the Chasm, and it's about the introduction of innovations in markets and in organizations. You all know these models. It talks about the early adopters, which is this lady in the left saying, hey, this is great, and then 85% of the people, they're saying no. You have the early majority saying, oh, yes, but. Then you have the skeptics saying no, because this and this and this, and giving rational advice. And then you have the laggards, and these are the people that scare us the most, because these are like, no, we're not going to do that. Why? Because this is bullshit. And you're like, oh, that's a good argument. I never saw it that way. And you convinced me. There's no argument there. No? This is people that are against the change for emotional reasons. And I am on tape. I have been recorded on 2015, 2016 in talks about change management, and I think that in 2020 I gave one for Agile Serbia talking about change management, and I hope at the moment I didn't say this, but in 2015 I said, these people, you should ignore them, because these are toxic people, these are emotional vampires, they will take all your energy, and as Mark Twain said, you shouldn't discuss with a fool, because you will put yourself at their level, and they will win you because of their experience being fools, okay? This is so wrong. This is so wrong, and I regret saying that, and I keep it in video to remind me of how wrong can I be. These people are your colleagues, and you will be these people at some moment. There are no people that you can label laggards. That person is being a laggard today about this change we're pushing into that person. And that person is suffering because the reason that somebody is violently resisting change is, when you scrap down, it's fear. It's always fear. And then somebody who is in fear cannot be free, cannot be happy. So you have a colleague of yours, partner, that is suffering, it's in fear, it's not happy, and the expert advice is kick that person. I'm so sorry I ever said that. What you have to do with these people is hug them physically. Okay, sometimes it's, one day I was in a conference, and I think it was Guy Pauhill that was saying that the best advice of his life was given by Ron Jeffries. You know, the Ron Jeffries, XP guy. He was asking something that, I have this problem, and then Ron Jeffries got to him, hugged him, pat, 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 there. Then he separated and said, go home, take a good night's sleep, tomorrow you will see it differently. And he said, and it worked. So many times when somebody is in a very, very bad situation, sometimes the best thing you can do is get out of the box, obtain a heart of peace. By the way, there's a great book called The Anatomy of Peace that talks about conflict resolution. And the basic of the problem is get out of the box. Approach the relationship with that person from a heart at peace, from a place of unconditional positive regard. We engineers, what do we try? Top of the pyramid, correct the problem. Okay, I will make it so this person doesn't have to do the daily stand-ups. Fix it. This is we engineers, we try to fix the problem. But here, when you have, we can switch back if you want to the questions. Here, this person that is not wanting to do what we are telling them to do, this person is resisting change because they fear that change, they're suffering that change. In order to, instead of focusing on how to introduce that change or solve that situation, focus on the relationship. That's my best advice. It's difficult, but you get better at it the more you practice that. Focus on the relationship.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.